They don't just live in Chicago. In many ways, they built it. Their name is carved into the city's museums, its hospitals, its architecture prizes, even its governor's mansion. And behind it sits one of the largest family fortunes in American history, estimated by Forbes at well over $40 billion. This is the story of the Pritzker family, a dynasty forged from nothing by a single immigrant who arrived with almost no money. Over 4 generations, they created a hotel empire, an industrial conglomerate, and a web of secret trusts spanning the globe. And then they nearly tore themselves apart. It begins in 1881. A young man named Nicholas Pritzker leaves Kyiv, then part of the Russian Empire, fleeing poverty and persecution. He sails to America and settles in a crowded immigrant district on Chicago's west side. He speaks almost no English and has nothing but ambition. Nicholas works as a pharmacist by day and studies law by night. In 1902, he opens a small law firm and gives it a name that will echo for a century: Pritzker and Pritzker. It is not just a law office. It quietly becomes the family's private investment bank. Nicholas has 3 sons, but it's the middle one who changes everything. His name is Abram Nicholas Pritzker, known simply as A.N. He is charming, relentless, and obsessed with the deal. Where his father built a law firm, A.N. decides to build an empire. A.N. has a simple philosophy: use the law firm to spot undervalued companies, buy them cheap, fix them, and never sell if you can help it. Through the 1930s and 40s, he snaps up troubled businesses across America: real estate, manufacturing, lumber. Piece by piece, the Pritzker fortune takes shape. But the family's most famous fortune is born from a single cup of coffee. In 1957, A.N.'s son, Jay Pritzker, is sitting in a small motel near Los Angeles International Airport. The place is called Hyatt House. Jay is impressed by how packed the coffee shop is. Legend says Jay scribbles an offer on a cocktail napkin and buys the motel on the spot. That single property becomes the seed of Hyatt Hotels Corporation. Jay and his brother Donald begin building and buying hotels at a furious pace, targeting travelers at growing airports across the country. Then comes the building that makes Hyatt legendary. In 1967, the company opens the Hyatt Regency Atlanta, featuring a soaring 22-story atrium lobby. Nothing like it had ever been built. It revolutionizes hotel design worldwide and turns Hyatt into a global luxury name. While Jay conquers hospitality, his brother Robert builds an empire nobody sees. Robert Pritzker takes control of a struggling company called Marmon and transforms it into the Marmon Group, a sprawling conglomerate of industrial businesses. Pipes, wires, rail cars, metals, unglamorous products that print money. By the 1980s, the Marmon Group alone generates billions in annual revenue from more than 100 separate companies. The Pritzkers now own hotels, factories, and even TransUnion, one of the 3 great credit bureaus that holds financial data on nearly every American adult. But the real secret to the Pritzker fortune wasn't the businesses. It was the structure. A.N. and his advisors built an intricate network of hundreds of trusts, many based offshore in places like the Bahamas. These trusts owned everything, shielding the family's wealth across generations. The arrangement was so effective that for decades the Pritzkers paid remarkably little in taxes relative to their staggering wealth. It was all perfectly legal, engineered by the finest lawyers money could buy. But it also planted the seeds of a war that would one day explode inside the family itself. By the time A.N. Pritzker died in 1986, the family had grown into a small tribe of cousins, all sharing in the fortune. The patriarch had a rule: the money stays together, controlled collectively, spent modestly, and reinvested. For a while, it held. The Pritzkers appeared united and unstoppable. They poured their wealth back into Chicago, and their names spread across the city. The University of Chicago's medical school became the Pritzker School of Medicine. Then, in 1979, they created the Pritzker Architecture Prize, quickly nicknamed the Nobel of Architecture, awarded to the greatest builders on Earth. Their crown jewel sits in the heart of the city. The J. Pritzker Pavilion in Millennium Park, designed by Frank Gehry, with its dramatic ribbons of stainless steel curling toward the sky. Millions gather beneath it every year. Most have no idea they're standing under a monument to Chicago's richest dynasty. The family also honored its patriotic streak with the Pritzker Military Museum and Library in downtown Chicago, and endowed scholarships, colleges, and hospitals. In philanthropy circles, the name became golden. But behind the gleaming facade, resentment was quietly building among the younger generation. The trouble began with a bank. In 2001, Superior Bank, a Chicago savings institution half-owned by the Pritzkers, collapsed spectacularly. Thousands of depositors were hurt, and regulators pointed to risky subprime lending. The family ultimately agreed to pay hundreds of millions of dollars to the government to settle the fallout. Then came the explosion nobody saw coming. In 2002, a 19-year-old named Liesl Pritzker discovered that money had quietly been moved out of her personal trusts. She was AN's great-granddaughter, and she was furious. So she did the unthinkable. She sued her own family. Liesl wasn't just any heir. Under the name Liesl Matthews, she had starred as the president's daughter in the blockbuster film Air Force One, alongside Harrison Ford. Now this child actress was accusing 11 Pritzker cousins of looting the trusts meant for her and her brother. Her lawsuit sought hundreds of millions of dollars and threatened to rip open the family's most closely guarded secrets, including how those offshore trusts really worked. The stakes were enormous. To make it disappear, the family reportedly settled with Liesl and her brother for roughly $500 million combined. But the damage was done. The lawsuit shattered AN's golden rule. The family decided the only way forward was to break up the empire. Between 2001 and 2011, the collective Pritzker fortune was carved into pieces and divided among roughly 11 adult family members, each going their own way. To fund the split, they began selling off crown jewels. In 2007 and 2008, Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway bought the Marmon Group in a deal valuing it at around $8 billion. The industrial empire Robert Pritzker built would now belong to the Oracle of Omaha. Hyatt, meanwhile, went public on the New York Stock Exchange in 2009, turning the family's private hotel treasure into a publicly traded company worth billions. The Pritzkers kept control, but cashed in enormous value. The great collective empire was gone, replaced by a constellation of individual billionaires. So who inherited this scattered kingdom? The modern Pritzkers are no longer one force, but many, and several have become giants in their own right. Some chose business, some chose politics, and a few managed to do both, wielding the family name like a key to every door in America. The most powerful in business is Thomas Pritzker, executive chairman of Hyatt, and long the family's quiet leader. Worth an estimated $6 billion, he steered the hotel company through its transformation and public offering. He is the closest thing the family has to a modern patriarch. Then there's Penny Pritzker, one of the most influential business figures in America. She helped build Hyatt and the family's real estate ventures, then became a key fundraiser for a young Chicago politician named Barack Obama. He rewarded her by naming her United States Secretary of Commerce, but the most visible Pritzker today wears a very different crown. J. Robert Pritzker, known as JB, built his own fortune in venture capital before turning to politics. In 2019, he was sworn in as the governor of Illinois, the very state his family had helped shape for over a century. JB spent an unprecedented sum, more than $170 million of his own money, to win and keep the governor's office. Critics called it buying an election. Supporters called it independence from special interests. Either way, a Pritzker now literally runs Illinois from Springfield to the Chicago skyline, and the woman who once sued the family. Liesl Pritzker Simmons took her $500 million settlement and reinvented herself. She became a pioneer of impact investing, funneling her wealth into causes that fight inequality and climate change. A striking twist for an heir to an old offshore fortune. Today, the Pritzkers own or influence a stunning slice of Chicago and beyond. Hyatt's global headquarters tower in the West Loop. Their venture funds back tech startups. Their real estate spans continents, and their name still hangs over the city's finest hospitals, parks, and cultural halls. Counting all the cousins together, the collective Pritzker wealth is estimated at over $40 billion, making them one of the richest extended families in the United States. Individually, at least 10 different Pritzkers appear on billionaire lists, a feat almost no other American family can match. Yet for all their fortune, the Pritzkers learned a lesson their patriarch never could. A family empire built to last forever can crack from the inside in a single generation. The trusts that made them untouchable also made them suspicious of one another. Wealth, it turned out, was easier to build than to keep united. But make no mistake, even divided, the Pritzkers remain woven into the DNA of Chicago. From the pavilion where the city gathers, to the hospital where its children are born, to the governor's chair itself, their fingerprints are everywhere. Few families have ever shaped a single American city so completely. So the next time you walk through Millennium Park, check into a Hyatt, or read a headline out of Springfield, remember the immigrant who arrived in 1881 with nothing but a dream. Nicholas Pritzker could never have imagined the empire or the war his family would create. That's the story of the Pritzkers, the family that truly owns Chicago. If this deep dive gripped you, subscribe now, because we're just getting started uncovering the hidden dynasties that secretly run America's greatest cities. Tell us in the comments which family we should investigate next.